Good evening. I'm Don Macleay. I'm the Green Party candidate for mayor in this election. A question like this is it's a good question for Oakland. It's a hard question to answer in 2 minutes, but it's a good question for Oakland because it's at the intersection of a lot of things that we can't do much about, like federal transportation policy and state rules around our ports and our freeways and stuff like that, and things that we do have a lot of control over. And those things fall into the area of zoning, permitting, the actual, what's it called? The actual housing code. So with codes, permitting, and zoning, there's our path to walkable neighborhoods, there's our path to affordability, there's our path to building some kind of buffer zones between the freeways and the living spaces, because we have to do something to abate that auto exhaust. And I'm a real believer in Oakland taking those areas where we have serious, strong power, basically. The municipal power as defined by the state constitution, as defined by our city charter, and as negotiated with the county of Alameda. That's the low-hanging fruit, and it's a very fortunate one for us on this subject. Now, as a building owner here in Oakland, I'm going to tell you one of the things that needs to happen, and something Rebecca talks about a lot, is we got to be allowed to do it. A lot of it doesn't need federal dollars, it doesn't need anything, it's I need to be able to get the permit. I need to be able to do it. A lot of this retrofitting can be done here if government steps out of the way and becomes a help and not a hindrance. Thank you. This is a question that's not going to surprise you that a Green Party advocate maybe has a philosophical difference here. I believe we're kind of living, if we've gotten out of the Vietnam syndrome, we're now in the Reaganomics syndrome. I believe in the community's right to a choice. I don't believe in the utilities' right to a choice. I mean, you know, at some point we're going to have to govern, we're going to have to regulate here. We're going to have to tell them, if you're taking our dollars to pay for this energy, you've got to set aside a certain part of it and you have to convert. What we're talking about is an economic conversion. And I don't believe that the government and the people, or the community, should be asking. These organizations make their money from providing services to us. We have a right to regulate. That being said, it's not going to be done tomorrow. When the Sierra Club asked this, one of my friends got really upset with me and said, Don, you should have told them that you used to run an energy company. I did. I used to run a hydroelectric plant that served a small town. And I really believe in that. I believe that we can do a lot in our own energy production. I believe we can work inside the system as it exists and do some serious abatement here. I think we can produce energy right here in Oakland. And I also believe that when it comes time to negotiate with the PG&Es of the world, we should take a very hard line, not just ask them for permission to buy some nice solar energy somewhere. Thank you.
Agradezco la pregunta. Voy a decir que el asunto se trata de manejar recursos que estamos despreciando ahora. La compañera concejal tiene razón. Hay varias cosas que no tenemos el permiso de hacer. Una cosa que no tenemos permiso de hacer es de emplear las aguas que se consideran ahora aguas negras. Esas son las aguas de baño, de lavadoras, etc. La implementación quiere decir que necesitamos el derecho de hacerlo, necesitamos unos recursos, tierra, campo, pues, y necesitamos hacer algo para evitar la contaminación. La mayoría de los suelos de aquí son contaminados. El aire en varios lugares es contaminado. Y para hacer uso de las aguas también quiere que haga un cierto nivel de tratamiento para protección ambiental en su zona. Ahora, I'll do my own translation here. I'm in agreement with what Rebecca said. Part of our biggest problem is just being allowed to do it. And what I was talking about there was the gray waters. If there's one thing you're not allowed to do, it's gray waters. And gray waters are very important. We throw out enough water to do everything we need to be doing. Everything we need to do for the forestation, and everything we would need to do for urban gardening. Second part of that is we have to, if we're going to allow this thing, we have to allow it. We also have to give it the resources it needs, which includes land,
and we have to give it a protection from our already existing contamination. Our soils are contaminated, our air is polluted, and our water is going to require treatment. So if we can do those things and synthesize them, we can probably do a lot of this with the resources we have at hand. I'm also of the opinion that not only are we going to face it, we're going to face it hard. The international situation is that we are not rising to the, internationally, we are not rising to the challenge that climate change is calling on us. And one of the leading factors in that is our government. The government of the United States of America has been the #1 foot dragger out there because too many people are making too much money burning oil. And they have a lot of influence. Not all the United States, it's Oakland, California, or the Bay Area. That said, how do we deal with it? Well, plans like this. If we do it, and we retrofit the buildings, and we make sure that we have jobs in our communities, and we bring in locally grown food, and we're gonna live a little bit like the Dutch. We're gonna have a dike, and we're gonna be okay. Really, as things go, the predictions for California are not as bad, all right? Yeah. Different spelling. We are going to be okay, and we're going to have to deal with another problem. We're going to have to deal with the problem that there's some real tomfoolishness going on in our country. Our country is the foot dragger, and these things don't happen linearly. So not only are we going to have to make sure that our communities are well and we deal well, and we're going to have a serious problem with the snowpack here in California, which is our water system, but we're also going to have a problem with our fellow Americans, and we're going to have to lead. When the system hits the wall, there's going to be some zigzags. It's not going to be some slow linear process, and we're going to hope that what we have here is something we have to offer our fellow citizens. No sé cómo se puede hablar de la honestidad y la corazón de uno. Pero cuando yo estuve en el último discurso que hacía nuestro alcalde, algunos de sus compañeros estaban presentes para agradecer al alcalde el apoyo que brindó a convertir unos camiones con un filtro que la verdad es que no lo comprendo tan bien, pero me parece que es un filtro que cuesta unos $11,000 y ustedes estaban allí a agradecerlo. Y yo estaba sentado con esos compañeros y como el discurso era bastante aburrido, pusimos a platicar. Y el compañero es también vecino y también vive allí y tiene hijos que sufren de esa asma. Y yo personalmente también sufro de esa asma. Entonces eso vuelve a lo que he dicho antes, donde yo creo que es la responsabilidad del gobierno gobernar. En ese asunto será responsabilizar quiénes son los dueños de la empresa para hacerlo. 2 minutes, I got a little bit for translation here. I joined these people watching Ron Dellums speak, where Ron Dellums was being thanked by his friends for his colleagues for having gotten some money to put filters in some of those trucks. And I like that, but on the other hand, I really believe that it's the responsibility of the government to govern. And I think basically you have to just put in rules that say, you know, this is what we want you to do, and you decide who you're holding responsible for it. And I can only hold responsible the owners, not the independent truck drivers. I'll add something I didn't say in Spanish, which is I also really, really believe this is an opportunity for us to maybe have a large project and think about being a pilot program for electric trucks. Mia, I'm going to beg your question a little bit here, and it's because I don't look at it that way. For one, we're talking about how we're going to keep controls on things, and not on the subject tonight. I'm an advocate of charter reform and a better oversight for all the things we do in the city. We're talking about jobs, and we're talking about, you know, how we're going to implement change. And when I look at that, I see we have 2 big problems on our hands. One of them is our economy, and the other one is our regional government, or lack thereof.
When we talk about our economy, I'm a working man. I was a machinist for 19 years. I watched the trade degenerate. I've watched the whole thing degenerate. The Rust Belt happen. I now work as a computer geek. And we can work on this, but we have to understand that we're trying to reverse a 30-year national trend. So it's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to take a lot of unity. It's going to take work with our employers, work with our schools, work with the colleges, that kind of thing. The government is an even worse question. And the mayor has limited authorities here. We don't really have a system of checks and balances. We have kind of a convoluted system left to us by Jerry Brown. As mayor, I would attend council meetings. As mayor, I would go to the Association of Bay Area Governments and tell them, hey, 10 years to put together a single ticket? No, that would actually be the Metropolitan Transit Commission and the 12 other transit commissions and the overlaps between the counties and all the other things, and the mayor has to engage. The mayor has to advocate on behalf of the city. If we went to Greece, then you need to hire a squeaky wheel.